This what do you call it? The recording transcripts. They don't number them individually. But 1 up to 1,000. They just number what the days or what?
The days.
The days only. So how do you calculate the complete?
What actually the last day, if you say chronologies on the last page.
Yeah.
So it means
But how do you know how many pages of transcripts? Because the other day somebody was saying it's 10,000. I think it's
you
more
have
than
to calculate them.
Huh?
You calculate best pay days. I have 10 on the 7th of October, and then just like that.
Is that so? But there must be a method of saying this case is at the 23rd, started on the 24th of July, 20.
So I can inquire with the stenographer's office.
Yeah, just inquire from him.
He says from here he can't, so I'll have to make a formal inquiry at his office.
You can't.
He says from that machine he can't.
Or from the machine. Okay, fine. Okay. No, fine. There's nothing I can do.
I'll inquire with the office.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. President.
All the accused are now here, my lord. We are ready to commence. The right of cross-examination by Advocate Nisi was reserved until today.
Okay, yes, Mr. Minister.
This is the court, my lord. Brigadier Kininda, good morning.
Sorry, I didn't hear. My apologies, my lord. I couldn't hear. What's good?
No, I'm saying just good morning.
Oh, good morning, Advocate Nisi.
You know, there's something that has been bugging me here.
So, the manager is still under oath.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, my lord. Yes, noted, my lord.
You know, there's something that has been bugging me here, and it still continues to bug me. That has been happening for some time. I'm trying to decipher what is the imperative that when a suspect gets arrested by a police, items that are found in his possession are supposed to be seized, and if it's supposed to be put in a cell, those are supposed to be registered in the relevant books at the police station.
So, there are more than one reasons, my lord. Firstly, if the items are not going to be used as exhibits on the case or utilized as evidence or to obtain further evidence, those items will be seized and then put on what you call SAP 22, which is a prisoner's property register. In other words, it's a property belonging to the prisoner. They've got nothing to do with the case in question or forming part of the exhibit. Now, in that part, as and when the arrested person is released from prison or he gives a permission to the next of kin or whoever that he mandates to take that item, such item will then be released to that person at the arrested person's directive. So that's the first part.
Umbuzo lana uthi ke advocate umnisi uthi kunento ke lana engihluphayo ukuthi kungani uma uboshwa umuntu lokho okuthole kuyena ke bese kuyathathwa noma kuzobhalwa ke kule incwadi zamaphoyisa kugcine ke la egcina khona. Okokuqala ke noma ke esokuqala isizathu engasisho ukuthi ke kuyathathwa lokho uma kuwukuthi mhlambe lokho okutholiwe umuntu oboshiwe kuzosetshenziswa nanjengobufakazi. Uma kuwukuthi akuzosetshenziswa nanjengobufakazi kubhalwa ke ku-register ebizwa ngokuthi SAP 22 ukuthi ke yiloko kwalowo oboshiwe noma ke phecelezi i-prisoner's property register ukuthi uma ngabe esededelwa ke noma uma yena ke ethi kunomuntu othize womndeni engithi nimnikeze lokho esokuqala lesizathu.
Now the second one, my lord, relates to when the exhibit or the seized item, the police are of the view that they'll utilize it as evidence or they want to conduct further investigation on it, in trying to obtain evidence. Now such item will then be seized still from the arrested person, entered in what you call SAP 13, which is a property register. That is the book that records all seized exhibits with the reference of the case number and obviously the person who seized it and the reasons thereof. Now, once it's taken there, it is now forming part of, obviously, the investigation. It depends on the item, whether it will be something that will need to be sent to the forensic if it's drugs for confirmation. Firearms, in that instance, will have to be forwarded to ballistic. Cell phones will have to be downloaded. So it depends. It depends what is in there. But those items then are seized, and they will remain there until the police have exhausted or finalized the investigation, my lord. That is the second part.
Bese kuthi okwesibili-ke manje uma kuwukuthi lokho okutholiwe kuloyo muntu oboshiwe noma ke amaphoyisa akuthathile-ke amaphoyisa-ke asafuna ukuqhubeka nophenyo noma acabanga ukuthi-ke khona-ke ubufakazi obukhona labo abangakuthola bese kubhalwa-ke kulokho okubizwa ngokuthi i-SAP 13 phecelezi-ke i-property register noma la ekubhalwa khona-ke izinto ey'tholakele kubhalwa i-case number, igama laloyo ekuyena ozithathile kanye futhi nesizathu. Sikhuluma-ke ngobufakazi obahlukene, ibhamu, ama-cellphones, nje lokho okuthathiwe-ke lesesibili leso isizathu.
Now this item on the second part, my lord, will then be disposed accordingly after. If, for example, the matter goes to court, after the such exhibit has been utilized, this exhibit, the matter has been finalized, an order can be given by the court and then it will be disposed accordingly, depending on the order that is there. And it also depends on the items, if such item can be kept at the SAP 13. Some perishable items are simply recorded and then stored accordingly. For example, a cache of money, you can't keep it in the SAP13, so it will obviously be handed back to the relevant authorities, but the chain of evidence will be maintained, my lord.
Kuya ngokuthi noma ke icala bese liyaqhubeka ke uma kuwukuthi manje ke inkantolo egcineni ke iyanquma ke noma ikhipha isinqumo ukuthi ke akwenziweni ngalobo bufakazi. Kuya ngokuthi ke yini ke lobo bufakazi lobo khulumile ngazo ke ibhamu noma ke kuyimali ke imali ke angeze igcinwe ke yona ke kuyona iSAP13 khona ke la ezondluliselwa khona, kodwa kuya ngokuthi isiphi isinqumo ezosikhipha uma ngaba icala seliqediwe egcineni.
Yes, those are the reasons, my lord.
Izona ke lezo izathu.
Thank you. Just, my lord, with the leave of court, may I approach that other microphone? I'm a little bit far. I can't hear properly. At least the echo
Yeah, fine,
today
no
is
problem.
not as cold as it was on Monday. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Brigati. Would security be one of the considerations?
Yes, for example, if you seize a firearm from an arrested person, you can't, moving that person from the point of arrest to the police station, you can't let that person carry the firearm. I mean, there's danger. Cell phones as well, you might tend to think that if the cell phone is left with the arrested person to the detention, all manner of things. Yes, security does form part of the reasons, my lord.
Thank you.
Ingabe ke uphepha ingaba esinye yini sezathu? Yebo, kunjalo. Asithi ke kutholakale isibhamu noma kutholwe isibhamu kuleyo muntu loyo, uma ke umthatha kuleyo ndawo aboshelwe kuyena eseyovalelwa ke awukwazi ukuthi ke isibhamu ke singahlala nayo noma singaba kuyena ke so yebo ngasho ukuthi ke uphepha kanye futhi ke uma kuthi kutholakale umakhalekhukhwini awukwazi ukuthi ahambe nawo bese kufica la azovalelwa khona.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, according to information that is on record, Sergeant Mohane and the late Sergeant Mabena having received information with regard to the complicity of Mr. Ntanzi in this case, approached him in June on 2020 at Phuket. On the 16th of June 2020 at Phuket. Do you still remember that?
I'm aware, yes, that he was arrested by the two members on the 16th of June 2020, my lord. That is correct.
Kuyiqiniso ngiyazi ke ukuthi nge-16 June 2020 uNtanzi ke waboshwa ke ilaba ababili obashoyo ke uSergeant Mohane kanye nongasekho uMabena.
Thank you. And then the information that is on record goes on to say that they had an interaction with him, upon which they then called you and you then went to meet them at, that's now on the 18th. You then went to meet them at Sibanye Gold Mine, somewhere in Western area.
That is correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ke ukuthi ke sebehlangene ke naye ke noma ke bekhulumile naye ke uNtanzi uMohane nongasekho ke uMabena base nge-18 ke noma ke bexhumana nami nge-18 June 2020 ngayohlangana nabo eSibanye.
And it is your testimony that prior to, if I recall well, we have had massive evidence in this case. Sometimes we're bound to make mistakes here and there. Now, if I followed your evidence well, is that you then met him, Mr. Ntanzi, for the first time at Phuket.
At Carltonville, my lord. I met him for the first time. That part is correct, but it was in Carltonville, not in Phuket. In Carltonville.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to intercept you. I actually wanted to say at the Sibanye Gold Mine in Carltonville, not
Yes,
Phuket.
absolutely, that's correct, my lord.
Yes.
Yebo ngenze iphutha ke yebo la mangihlangana nayo kokuqala ke kwakuse Carltonville ayi ePhukeng.
Now, according to Sergeant Mohane, you, when they started to talk to him, yourself and Sergeant Mohula, you were not there. It was only him and Mabena.
Well, if Sergeant Mohane said that, then I wasn't there. I can only relate to my presence when I arrived and met accused 2, my lord. What happens prior, I think Sergeant
Yes.
Mohane and Mabena will be in a better position to deal with that.
Ngokukamukhane ke wena ke nomuhula naningekho ke lapha. Uma kuwukuthi ke iloko ekusho yena ke Mukhane kanjalo ke ngoba ke okwenzeka ngaphambi kokuthi ngifike angeke ngikwazi.
That is correct. And according to Mohane, upon your arrival, they introduced you to accused number 2, and they then gave you a space that you should talk to accused number 2, if my memory serves me well.
I'm not sure how Mohane put it, my lord, but yes, I was introduced to accused 2. I introduced myself, and then we carried on with the interview.
Thank you.
Ngokamukhane ke babethula ke bamethula nawe kuwena ke base bekunika ke manje isikhala ke noma ke isikhathi ke sokuthi ke ukhulume naye. Angazi ukuthi uSergeant Mukhane wakusho kanjani, kodwa yebo ngazithula ke nake naye wethulwa kumina ke sase siyakhulumisana ke suka lapho.
Thank you. Now, was there any particular briefing that Mohane gave you with regard to the conversation that they had with accused number 2 upon your arrival at Carltonville, where you met them?
No, there wasn't, my lord. So the first briefing I got from Mohane, if I put it in sequence, was on the 16th in Sergeant Mabena. They could have briefed me collective or individually. That indicated that they have arrested accused 2
Yes.
in relation to Wanongoma matter. So that was the first briefing. I was then informed on the 18th that they are going to Carltonville. That's the briefing that I got. It was telephonically. And in that, they will also try and follow the alibi of the cases that they were investigating in Carltonville. That's when, my lord, I asked, because it was brought to my attention that he seems to be saying he's at work, something to that effect. And that's when I said, look, let me meet you in Carltonville, because this aspect relating to this matter is something that I want to handle myself. Then they can carry on with their matters. So that is a brief I got, but not when I arrived. It was prior to my arrival telephonically.
Ingaba khona yini abakutshela kodwa ke manje nge-18 uma ufika ke lapho ukuthi ke ngokukhulumisana noma ukuxoxisana kwabo kwenzekani? Cha, uma beqala ke ungitshela ke kwakungazo i16 uma bengazisa ke ukuthi ke bambopha ke umsolo wesibili bembophela lona ke icala laKwaNongoma bese kuthi ngazo i18 bakhuluma nami ke ngocingo bengazisa noma bengitshela ukuthi ke baya eCarltonville kukhona ke abayokuphenya ke mayelana ke nalelo qala lelo laKwaNongoma. Uma sebengitshela ke mayelana naleli icala ukuthi ke ubatshele ukuthi wayesemsebenzini, ngathi lolo udaba ke ngifuna ukuthi mina ke ngizele noma ke kube yimina obhekelana nalolo daba, ngathi ke asihlangane eCarltonville.
So part of the information that I briefed you about also had to do with the current case that we're busy with.
Yes, I think my recollection, my lord, it was to an extent that he said to them, I don't know at what stage, that he was at work and they briefed me on that one, and I said, I want to be present. But mainly it was the matters that they were seized with. But this particular one, as I was the lead IO, my lord, they had to brief me in terms of, and take guidance from me in terms of what must be done.
Kokunye ke abakutshela kona ke bakutshela ke mayelana nalo leli icala eliphambi manje yebo bangitshela ukuthi ke wabatshela ukuthi wayesemsebenzini, angazi ukuthi kwakuyisiphi isikhathi mabatshela lokho, ngathi ke kulolo udaba ohlangana naleli icala ngoba kuyimina ke ohola ithimba eliphenyayo, ngifuna ke ukuthi ke kuyimina obhekana nalo, bona ke bangaqhubeka ke ngamanye la amacala babeyele wona.
Thank you. Now you meet accused number 2 at Carltonville. You then had a discussion, a consultation with him in respect of this case, which was the reason why you had to drive to Carltonville, not so?
Yes, my lord. But it wasn't a detailed discussion. It was obviously, without repeating what I've said, my lord, that after the warning of the constitutional rights, it was to say, I have a reason to believe, and this is how it unfolded, that he was involved in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. And the response, so this is how it unfolded. And I'm saying that because that's how the discussion took place, was to say, no, it's not correct. I was at work, and he specified the date, the 26th. That's what I took note of, that the date was then set by him. And that then led us to say, okay, since we say we're at work and we are not far from Sibanya mine, let's then follow that alibi. So that's how it unfolded.
Nase nikhulumisa noma ke ni no proper ke mayelana nodaba noma icala leli phambi kwenkantolo manje uma kwenzeka ke lokho kwakuwukuthi ke engitshela ukuthi ngelanga lelo ke langa i20 yimini noma wamtshela ngiyaxolisa ke mina wamtshela ukuthi ke nginezathu sokukholelwa ukuthi ke wena ke uyambandakanyeka ke kwicala lelo kulawo kwakhe isenzo wasephendula ke ethi cha mina ke ngangisemsebenzini futhi washo idate ke ngabe sengisithi ke ngoba ke singekudeke kunendawo yakho yokusebenza asiye khona ke siyokulandelela kona lokho.
Yes.
Oh, the explanation is okay, no, thanks. Then from there, you went on to follow his alibi. You went to the place where he was working. You got the information that you were looking for in relation to his alibi.
Yes, which said it was false from Mr. Mulder specifically in his presence.
Yebo ke saya ke khona lapha isebenza khona ke washo ke Mr. Mulder ekhona ke umsolo ukuthi cha kwakungasilona iqiniso lokho angitshela kona.
Now, that is, according to you, the first time that you had an interaction with accused number 2, wherein you had to talk to him about this case, not so?
Yes, that's
That
correct.
is-
So sorry to interject. Sorry, I thought you were done. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Yebo kuyiqiniso kwakuyihlanda lokuqala ke lelo ke ngikhuluma naye ngihlangana naye kumsolo ngikhuluma naye mayelana naleli qala leli.
Now, subsequent to you receiving the information that you got from his employees, did you have another discussion with him whilst at Carltonville in relation to this case?
Yes, correct, my lord. I obviously the other part that I confronted him with
Yes.
was in relation to the identity kit, where I put to him that I'm also of the view that the identity kit, the suspect with the hoodie, according to my view, resembles him, which was then denied, my lord. That is the second discussion I had with him. He said, no, it's a question of mistaken identity. So it was denied by him to say the person is actually him on the identity kit.
Uphindileke futhi unise lapho ke eCarltonville wakhuluma naye yini mayelana nalo icala leli eliphambi kwenkantolo. Yebo kungenkathi ke manje sengikhuluma naye ke ngimtshela ke ukuthi ke noma ngimtshela nge-identity kit noma ke umdwebo loyana ngithi ke mina ke umuntu loyana odwetshwe lapha yana ogqoke ihoodie ufana naye ke ila esesho khona ke yena ukuthi cha iphutha ke lelo elenziwe akusiyena lo.
Thank you. Now, you also told this court that in the content of your conversation, there was a point where accused number 2 then gave you the date of the 26th of October 2014. That is where your interest then started to develop about his possible involvement in this case. Is that not so?
No, the interest was already developed, my lord. Court will remember that when his name came up
Yes.
on the statement disposed by Mr. Absalom Zungu, the interest started there.
Okay.
So when he said that, it's something that I took note, not that there was already a cold case analysis done on him and accused 1. Hence the other cases were already identified, and the focus of investigation or the interest to get to him was already there. So this is something that I noted to say, but how could he know the exact date, so that's something that just stick on my mind to say, I didn't give him the date, but he just gives me the date to say on this specific day I was at work, I could not have committed that offense.
Ushilo-ke ukuthi nikhulumisana noma nisaxoxa-ke yena-ke wase ekunikeza-ke idate leya-ke 26 zika October 2014 yila usuqale khona-ke manje-ke ukuthi-ke unakeke noma-ke ubhekeke. Cha, lokho akuqalanga lapho. Uzokhumbula ukuthi igama lakhe laliselivelile-ke kwistatement esenziwa uyena-ke umnumzana u-Absalom Zungu. So manje uma yena-ke esengitshela ngedate umsolo wesibili engitshela ngedate yange-26 October 2014 ngingashongo mina-ke na-ke idate yila-ke manje engithe loko ngabukisisa khona-ke.
Thank you. I don't know what your comment to this will be, because this is what Mohane told this court, that they, in the process of them investigating this other case against him, the case relating to cocaine, or the Wanongoma case, they also, in one way or the other, they also introduced the subject of this case, and this is how they introduced it. Thank you. Mohane told this court that what is it that accused number 2 knows about the death of Senzo Meyiwa? And accused number 2 responded by saying that he heard that on the news because it was all over the media. Let me pause there. Do you have any comment?
My Lord, that was, I don't want to venture to the discussion between Sergeant Mohane and the accused, particularly if he led that evidence in court. I was not here.
Yes, thank you.
So I would like to help, but I wasn't in court, my Lord.
Umukhanye-ke awakutshela le nkantolo-ke ukuthi benayeke umsolo wesibili base bembuza-ke ukuthi-ke yini ayaziyo mayelana necala-ke lokushona kwakhe uSenzo Meyiwa. Uma ebaphendula-ke umsolo wathi-ke yena-ke ubonile-ke kumabonakude ngoba-ke ligcwele-ke noma likhona-ke liyavezwa-ke ey'ndabeni. Yini ongayisho wena kulokho bengekho noma ngangekho-ke ngenkathi uSergeant Mohane ethula ubufakazi kule nkantolo, manje-ke angeke-ke ngifune ukuthi ngingene lapho.
Please, Lord, can we just get clarity as to on which date Sergeant Mohane testified about this, the occasion, and as to exactly when did this discussion take place? Because Sergeant Mohane said several interactions with accused number 2.
I'm reading from my notes, my lord. Unless my colleague is suggesting that I should have gone into the record and go back and read and do as he's suggesting. If he feels that what I'm putting to this witness is not what Mohane said, then he should raise that. But I cannot be expected to come and say on such and such a date, this is what Mohane said, and this is found in this portion, and this is what. I was taking notes. I can only refer him to my notes, and unfortunately, I do not have the date. I did not write a date on which this testimony Mohane was preferring. So, but the gist of what I'm saying is, if he feels that what I'm putting to this witness is not what Mohane says, then he needs to mention that. Then we go and revisit that. But to expect me to do as he does, it's going to be very cumbersome, my lord, because I'm going to request a postponement so that I go and read Mohane's testimony in its entirety, and I think it goes up to 2 weeks. Does it please the court?
It's fine, we can proceed, my Lord. We will correct the record at the later stage.
Thank you.
Should the need arise.
Thank you. Now, you would then agree with me that when accused number 2 gave them that response, that he had it on the news, it was all over the media, he was telling the truth, because this incident of the killing of Mr. Meyiwa took place in 2014, 26 October, and he gets confronted with this allegation on 2020, which is almost 6 years. So it was all over the media, not so.
Correct, my lord, but that's precisely the reason that it was 6 years later. For me, it's quite interesting that you will remember that specific day. It's a different, and this is now me, my lord, it's a different story of saying, I've heard on the news that this person was killed. And that's not what he told me, my lord, and I'm referring to me. That's not what he told me. But to say 6 years later, this incident happened on that specific day.
We're still talking about what he told Mohane, not you.
Yes, but my lord,
Yes.
I think I dealt with that part. That insofar as what Mohane and accused to discussed, it will be difficult for me to get in there because I was not there, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I said even when Sergeant Mohane testified, I was not in court.
Thank you.
I can only refer to the discussion that accused to had with me, and that's what I was trying to explain. Why I found it peculiar and interesting.
Thank you.
Kodwa ke uzovuma ke ukuthi uma wabaphendula ngaleyo ndlela ke ukuthi wayekhuluma iqiniso ngoba ke impela ke ukuthi ke kwakuyicala leli elali khona ke kuma TV noma ke elalisakazwa ke yebo ke lokho ngakuvuma ke kodwa ke ukuthi ke emuva kweminyaka eyisithupha akhumbuleke ilanga noma akhumbuleke idate ke iyona nje into eyaqhama ke leyo ukuthi yebo noma ke lalivela ke kumabona ku TV kodwa ukuthi emuva kweminyaka eyisithupha umuntu akhumbule ilanga iloko nje okwaqhama.
Now, having asked him that question, they went on to ask him, where was he on the 26th of October 2014? To which he replied, I was at a mine at Westonali. That's what Mkhane says.
My lord, I was not there.
Thank you.
I don't know what really to say much about that assertion.
Bese bembuzileke lokho base umbuzo olandelayo ke bambuza ukuthi wayekuphi ke yena ngalelo langa lelo waphendula ke wathi wayesemayini eWestern area ngangingekho ke akukho ke engaphendula kulokho.
Now, subsequent to that, then Mohane went on to say on the 18th of June 2020, which is the day on which you also met them, they followed his alibi at Western area, specifically at Sibanye Steel Water.
I can agree about the 18th.
Yes.
That's why I met them a lot.
Waqhubeka kumkhana wathi ke ngeyazo i-18 June 2020 ila manje abaya khona ke kwindawo lapho ke emayini eWestern area beyoqinisekisa ke lokho ayikusho lokho ke kwange-18 ngakuvuma ke kona ngoba ngangikho noma ilanga lelo engahlangana nabo.
Now, the point being, because in your evidence in chief, you said, amongst others, you found it very strange. Why would he specifically remember his whereabouts on the 26th of October 2014 when you have not put it to him? Now, would that not have been because of the fact that he had already been confronted with the same information before you confronted him? In other words, when you confronted him, your colleagues had already confronted him with the same allegations.
So, my lord, I'll answer it in this various fold. If he was confronted as is being put to me, yes, logic will make sense that it's still fresh in his memory. He might remember if it happened like that. But I was not briefed as such by Sergeant Mohane as it's been put to me that we've confronted him, we gave him the date, and this is what he said. That's not the brief I got. I don't remember specific dates being given to me, my lord. That's the first part.
Manje ke uma kukanjalo ke uma esethi kuwena ke noma ke eyikhulumela ngedate kuwena ke ingabe lokho bangaphumi noma ngaqhamuki yini ekuthini oza kwethu babe sebekhulumile ke naye base bemnikeza ke imininingwane efana nayo ke idate uma mina ke ngihlangana nabo ke ngazo i-18 zika June 2020 uma uSergeant Mohane ke ekhuluma nami noma engixoxela ke akangitshelanga ngaleyo ndlela ke le manje engiyitshelwayo la enkantolo ukuthi ke bese sikhulumile naye sayisho idate kuyena.
And when I spoke to him, my lord, this is accused too, he didn't say to me, I already got this information or the dates or the details to Sergeant Mohane or I already gave to them. That was not put to me, my lord. by the accused himself, accused 2.
Okwesibili-ke uma mina ngikhuluma naye-ke umsolo wesibili akashongo kumina-ke ukuthi-ke bese ngikhulumile naye-ke uSergeant Mokhane kanye nozakwabo-ke noma-ke bebeseyishilo-ke i-date kumina-ke ngale ndlela-ke ekushiwo ngayo kumina ngikhuluma ngaye umsolo wesibili.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier. We are not privy, accused could not have been privy to what Mokhane told you about. All that I'm referring to here is what Mokhane told this court. Thank you.
My Lord, yes, I hear what the Advocate Mnisi is saying. The essence of my response is that if accused 2, for example, had said to me, I was informed by Sergeant Mokhane about this date, I'll leave it at that. There's nothing much to say someone remembers the date. Or if he said to me, I just watched the news a few days ago where this date was articulated, and that's how I remember that it happened on this day, and on this day I know I was at work. It would have been a reasonable and logical explanation. One will not put something or try to make something out of that explanation because it will be reasonable, my Lord. That's not the impression I got when I spoke to him, my Lord.
Uma kuwukuthi-ke noma-ke akazange asho kumina-ke ukuthi-ke uSergeant Mokhane-ke ebese ngibuzile ngalolu daba wase ne-date eyisho-ke noma athi kumina-ke kumalanga nje ambalwa-ke andlule bengibuke i-TV ngalibona-ke lolu daba kukhulunywa ngalo kwi-TV futhi-ke ne-date bayisho. Lokho-ke bekuzoba into ezwakalayo-ke bengeke-ke ufuna ukwenza into ngaleyo nto leyo kodwa mina-ke uma ngikhuluma naye-ke angizange ngiyithole ngaleyo ndlela noma-ke izwakale ngaleyo ndlela.
Thank you, Brigadier. I don't want to argue this point or to make a meal out of it, but if you are throwing it back to accused number 2, that he did not tell you that he had already explained what you are asking him to Mokhane, the same question could as well be asked from you, whether did you ask him you had already told Mokhane what he was telling you?
Absolutely.
And which you didn't, not so?
No, absolutely. I think that will be fair if you throw it to me. Yeah.
So this point does not take us anywhere.
Yeah, no, it
Actually, it does not take you per se anyway, not us.
All right, no.
Thank you.
No, I differ. It does, my Lord, take us somewhere. It does take me somewhere because counsel is looking at an isolated discussion. He is not collaborating it with the events that took place afterwards. And that's how you must. This is what I was saying, my Lord, when I say collaboration. So you take the fact that a date was given, ungiven by me, but was given to me by accused 2. You then subsequently follow the events that followed, that led to the confession of Colonel Rapadu, the magistrate. If you take that, it does indeed create an impression as to why this person knew about this date. You can't take it in isolation, my Lord, because it did not end on the date. After the date, the identikit, subsequently there were confessions that were made, written down by Lieutenant Colonel Rapadu, subsequently the magistrate, and in those confessions, accused to implicate himself. Now, if you take that, logic dictates that this is why he knew the date of the 26th of October 2014.
Lana-ke manje-ke umele akwenzayo ukuthi-ke uthatha udaba lo date-ke aluhlukanise noma-ke alibeke nje lodwa-ke kodwa-ke uma-ke uthatha i-date leyo angitshela yona-ke mina ngingayishilo kuyena ubusehlanganisa nalokho okwenzeka-ke kamuva i-statement esenziwa kuyena uKenny Raphat usenziwa kuyena ngaphambi kwayo-ke imantshi i-identikit la futhi asho khona-ke ukuthi-ke wayeyingxenye-ke yalokho okwenzeka-ke yila manje usuthola khona-ke ukuthi lo muntu kuyingakho-ke angitshela nge-date ngingayishongo mina.
Thank you, Brigadier. Malot, just a bit of a deviation. There was a discussion earlier on with regard to the time at which you're supposed to be knocking off. I'm not so sure whether it was ultimately finalized, Malot.
Now they say you'll discuss it at lunch. I mean at tea time, the defense.
Oh, no, thank you, Malot. Is actually...
Is it tea time now?
No. Well, I'm not sure.
Not yet, Malot. It's 10 to 11.
Thank you.
10 to, okay.
Now, thank you, Brigadier. Now, Brigadier, the first discussion that you heard with accused number 2 in relation to this case at Western Area, before you could get into the offices to go and verify his alibi, And the second discussion that you had with him after coming out of the offices where you verified his alibi, could that be regarded as an interview with him?
I want to answer the way I was asked, my lord. It's one question by Advocate Miniti, but it's actually subdivided. So the first part...
No, it's just...
No, you did. I'll explain it. You'll understand, Advocate Miniti.
Okay.
First, you ask whether the alibi that was verified, and then you ask the interview. So it's two parts in one question. The alibi was not verified. It was false, my lord. He gave us a false alibi. We went in, we found it to be false. So that is the first part of the answer to his question.
Yes.
The second part, it was an interview, my lord. I was interviewing a suspect. Hence, I gave him his constitutional rights. I testified on this aspect during the trial, within trial, and when I led evidence in chief on this main trial, that I warned him according to his constitutional rights, because we're embarking on an official engagement interaction, my lord.
Manje ke uma uyoqinisekisa ke lokho akusho kwenake umsolo wesibili ukuthi ke wayekuphike ngalelo langa lelo ingaba lokho ke wakuthatha nanjengenkolo khona phecelezi ke interview okwenzeka kokuqala ukuthi ke labo awayekusho ukuthi ngeke-26 wayekuphike kwatholakala ukuthi kwakungasilona ke iqiniso. Okwesibili ke yebo kwakuyiyona ke i-interview ngoba ke manje ngangisengikhulumisana naye noma ngixoxisana naye ke ngalo daba lolu oluphathelene ke neqala leli. Yebo ke kwakuyiyona inkolo khona noma i-interview.
Now, the first portion, I did not get your answer. Do you say it was an official engagement, an interview, or what? Because you only responded to the second instance where you are agreeing that it was an interview because it was an official engagement. What about the first instance before you could get into the offices to go verify his alibi? What do you call that?
No, it is official, my lord. Hence I said, and because the court will remember, when after I was introduced, then I introduced myself. The first part I dealt with was the warning that I gave him in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution. You do that when a person is a suspect. So your interaction in terms of what you put to that person and responses, it's an official engagement, my lord.
35.
Yeah.
Yebo ke uma ngiqala naye ke noma uma sikhuluma nje okokuqala ke bengikhulumile ke ngalokho ngaphambilini ke ukuthi ke ngamnikeza ke isexwayiso ke ngaphansi kwakhe ke umthetho usection 35 yilokho okwenzayo uma ukuthi umuntu uma ukhuluma naye ke umsolwa. Ngako yebo ke kwakuyilona ke into khona noma nayo ke i-interview leyo ngoba ke ngamexwayisa.
In fact, my lord, I'll take it to an extent that my entire engagement from the time I arrived up to the time I left, specific with accused 2, was official. There was no other business we had except the official engagement.
Futhi ngakusho ke lokho ukuthi ke kusukela ngesikhathi ngifika lapho ke ngiqala ukuthi ngikhulumisana naye ke umsolo wesibili ukuthi lokho ngangikwenza ke noma ke ngikwenza ngaphansi komuntu ke owayesemsebenzini noma phecelezi ke official kwakungekho kunye nje okwakusihlanganisa.
Now, Brigadier, as a very senior ranking officer in the South African Police Services, and not only senior but well decorated, I think that should be put on record as well, well decorated. You were very aware that that which you call an official engagement with the accused had to be done, accused number 2, had to be done in terms of the law, not so?
Yes, and it was done in terms of the law, my lord.
Thank you.
Futhi ke nanjengomuntu ke esiphoyiseni ke ukantshubo mvuke uzokwazi ke ukuthi ke yonke ke into uma uyenza ke noma lokho okwenza naye ke umsolwa ukuthi ke kufanele kwenziwe ngaphansi kwawo ke umthetho. Yebo kwenzeka futhi ngaleyo ndlela.
And you just mentioned that you explained to him his entitlements in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution. I don't want to get there because you have already testified about that in the trial, within the trial. So,
yes, it is so, my lord. That's correct.
Bithulileke ukufakaza ukuthi lokho ke wakwenzani ngokuthi ke umexwayiseke nanjengoba usho ukuthi namalungelo akhe ngaphansi kwakhe ke uSection 35. Yebo kuyiqiniso.
Now, in the first engagement, before you could get into the offices to verify his alibi, if you so remember, What was his choice with regard to his rights to legal representation?
There wasn't, my lord. I explained. There was no desire for the legal representative, be it private or at the state expense, and there was no reasons or desire from him to remain silent. He said, "I would be willing to talk to you open and freely," and he did. Hence, he gave me the explanation of saying he was at work on the date in question, my lord.
Manje ke usumchazeleke ngawo ke amalungelo lawo akhe ke laselithini ke uma kufikelela kuleli ke mayelana ke nommeli kwakungekho sifiso nje esasikhona ke esasibuya kuyena noma ukuthi ummeli oyimele noma ke okhokhelwayo noma ke obuya kumbuso ingakho ke nje washo ukuthi uma ukhuluma ngokukhululekile ingakho angichazela ke ukuthi ke ngalelo langa lelo wayesemsebenzini.
Thank you. In respect of the second engagement, after having been to his employer to go and verify his alibi, what was, if you explained his rights, what was his rights with regard to legal representation?
There was still no view, my lord, and there was no desire or wish by the accused for the legal representative. And when we dealt with the issue of the identikit, and as I've placed it on record, he said it's not him. That was in relation to the response of saying he does not need the legal representative. He's still willing to speak open and freely. And when that question was put of the identikit, it was defeated by him to say it's a question of mistaken identity.
Senibuyileke manje kona kama office senikhulumileke na la asebenza nalabo ke asebenza ngaphansi kwabo wasethinike mayelana ke nommeli nalapho qhubekekileke wathi cha asikho ke isidingo noma ke nasifiso sokuthi ke ngaba khona ke ummeli esebuziwe futhi ke nangesithombe lesiyana ke noma ke identity ingakho nje angiphendula nje wathi cha iphutha ke lo bakungasiyena ke loyana.
So would I understand you to mean, would I understand your answer then to mean that you had explained all his rights to legal representation, you gave him options and choices, he understood them, and he decided to waive his right to legal representation and said, no, I don't want a private attorney, I don't have an attorney on my own, I don't want an attorney or a legal representative that I can be assisted with by the state. I am prepared to continue speaking for myself or on behalf of myself as I am engaging with you. Do I understand you to mean that?
You understand me correctly, my
Thank
lord.
you.
He waived his rights, my lord.
Ngikuzwa kahle yini ke uthi ke usukhulumilene ke naye umchazele futhi ngawo onke amalungelo kakhulukazi ke lommeli noma ummeli oyimele ummeli obuya kumbuso nala uqhubekekile wathi cha ngifuna uyikhulumele yebo ungizwa kahle.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, you would agree with me, South Africa is a constitutional democracy country that is founded on the ethos of the Constitution. In other words, is the Constitution up there, and there are these little legislations which should be tied up with the Constitution, not so?
Yes, I totally agree, my lord.
Uyavumelana nami ukuthi ke eNingizimu Afrika ifaka ke noma ke kunomthetho sisekelo bese kuthi ke kuneminye ke imithetho engaphansi ke kodwa ke ongaphezulu umthetho sisekelo lokho ngiyavumelana naso.
Below those legislations, there are directives, there are ordinances, there are policies, etc., 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 but which must also comply with the spirit of the Constitution, not so?
Yes, my lord, that is correct.
Kukhona konke ke lokho ama directives ama policy kodwa ke okungaphezulu okulawula konke ke lokho umthetho sisekelo lokho ngiyakuvuma yebo.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you, Brigadier. Do you understand, Brigadier, that a brigadier is a person who holds, who is a commissioned officer and also holds the rank of being a peace officer?
I do understand, my lord.
Ingaba uyakuzwa noma uyakulandela ukuthi masikhuluma ngebrigadier sikhuluma ke ngomuntu ke okuyi obviously eliphakeme kakhulu ke khona ke ngaphakathi esiphoyiseni lokho ngiyakuvuma.
And then a peace officer is somebody that is equivalent to a magistrate. Are you aware of that?
No, my understanding, justice of the peace is equivalent to a magistrate.
Excuse
Justice
me?
of the peace. My understanding, I understand the peace officer different. I thought the magistrate, in terms of, is equivalent to a commission officer in the sense of being justice of the peace. That's my understanding, my lord.
Mina ke engikulandelayo ngokuthi ke uma kukhulunywa ke nge-peace officer umuntu ke osungambeka ke kwizinga ke layo ke imanje noma ke phecelezi ke okuthiwa i-justice of the peace.
No, I think my semantic nearly threw me under the bus. You know, I wanted to say justice of the peace, not a peace officer. You know, a peace officer can be a traffic court. You know?
Indeed.
Then he stops there and then he asks us our licenses. You understand? Yeah, that's a peace officer. But the justice of the peace is at the more elevated level.
Yes, I do agree with that
Thank
assertion,
you.
my lord.
Lokho ke ngiyakuvuma ke uma usho ke ngoba ke kuyisikhundla ke sona ke ngasho ukuthi ke i-justice of the peace umuntu ke osungamlinganisa ke nayo imanje.
Thank you. Now I am going to request to refer to Exhibit XX.
What?
Exhibit XX. That's the thing, you know, for so many documents, and they get to be so voluminous, it just gets to be very tedious and heavy for us to carry them every day here to court. But Exhibit XX, Exhibit XX, my lord.
What is that?
Yes, XX is that document that states an interview with regard to a suspect. An interview regarding an interview with a suspect. Mr. Ramusipili is trying to correct me, but it's a statement regarding interview with a suspect. That is Exhibit XX. We might not necessarily go to Exhibit XX if there's a document that is similar to Exhibit XX, which is a statement regarding interview with a suspect. I think it will also suffice. I'm not so sure if my colleagues have got any, just to speed up the process. I would be utilizing mine, but I'm going to need it as we engage in this process.
I do have a similar document. I suppose it's a warning statement. That's what you're referring to. In the front page says statement regarding interview with suspect.
Yes.
Yes, I have one, my lord.
Or it is affectionately known as a warning statement.
Yes, if we are referring to the same document. Yes.
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 In front it has got that South African Police Service insignia.
Correct. That's the one. I think we have
Yes.
the same document.
And do you have any knowledge who designed this insignia?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have any knowledge who designed this insignia?
No.
You don't know?
I don't.
I do.
Is it?
I know who designed it.
Okay, I think we'll have a lecture with it one day. We'll talk
Thank
about
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm waiting for my colleagues, my lord, to be to follow as we go along in respect of this exhibit. I see Mr. Baloyi is still trying to page through. I'm not so sure whether we can proceed as is paging through or we need to give an indulgence to get to this document.
So, what are we waiting for?
Oh, no, it's fine. I was just
My
trying
colleagues,
to...
I'm sure they know that document. Mr. Mamal, you don't know that document?
I do have.
Mr. Ramsepi?
Yes.
So everybody knows that document.
Yes, it was sent up by Advocate Michelolo.
Yeah, it talks about in the presence of a police officer, station commander, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, in the role of the prosecutors.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, Brigadier,
Yes, my lord.
we've got a face of the document. Yeah, unfortunately, the one that I have is not numbered. On the first page, it only starts to be numbered somewhere on page number 3. But nonetheless, I think that would not be a train smash. Now, when you open that document, the very first paragraph there says South African Police Service instructions, statement regarding interview with a suspect. Do you see that?
I do see it, my lord.
And then paragraph number 1, it says completion of this statement. Do you see that?
Completion of statement.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I see, my lord. Correct.
Yes. Now, what does paragraph A read? What does it say? Do you mind to read it into record?
No, I don't mind, my lord. It reads as followed. The station commander must consult with the prosecutor on circumstances in which the prosecutor requires that a warning statement of a suspect be obtained. Second sentence, in every such case, the suspect must be interviewed and his statement must be completed. This statement must be completed every time the suspect is interviewed, irrespective of whether the suspect has been arrested or not.
Thank you.
Statement noma ke ufundeka ngale ndlela ke la istatement mayelana ke ne-interview kanye naye-ke umsolwa i-station commander kufanele sihlangane noma sikhulumisane naye-ke umshushisi ngakwizimo-ke la khona umshushisi efisa noma ke efisa ukuthi ke kube ne-warning statement phecelezi-ke istatement sokuxwayiswa sakhe umsolwa ekufanele sitholakale ngaphansi noma ke kukhona konke umsolwa uma ngabe kuwukuthi ke uya-interview noma kukhulunyiswana naye fanele lesi statement lesi sibhalwe lesi statement lesi fanele sibhalwe ngaso sonke isikhathi kune-interview nomsolwa noma kuwukuthi umsolwa uboshiwe noma cha.
Thank you. Now, when you page over, there's also an insignia there. Letters written South African Police Service. Again, a statement regarding interview with the suspect that are written in both letters. Do you see that?
I do see it, my lord.
Thank you. And below that, there is that paragraph that consists of 3 sentences. Do you mind to read that into record?
I don't mind, my lord. It reads as follows. The form must be completed every time a suspect is questioned, irrespective of whether the suspect is in detention after an arrest or not, where any space provided on the form is sufficient. Continue on a folio and attach the folio to that page. Folios must be signed by the suspect, interpreter, deponent, and commissioner of oath.
Kufundeka ngale ndlela ke le form lena kufanele ibhalweke noma igcwaliseke ngaso sonke isikhathi umsolwa ke ehlonywa imibuzo noma kuwukuthi ke uvalele noma ke ugciniweke noma kusemuva kokuthi ke eboshiwe la khona ke unganeleke noma kungena space esaneleke kufanele utholakale lokho kubizwa ngokuthi ke ifolio bese yona ke iyananyathiselwa ke kulona leli page leli kanye futhi ke lawo mafolio leyo kufanele assignedwe ke umsolwa utolika kanye futhi ke naloyo ekuyena obhalayo noma ke lowo ofungisayo.
Thank you, sir. Now, this statement must be completed every time the suspect is interviewed, irrespective of whether the suspect has been arrested or not. It's not me who says this, it is this document. Do you follow?
I follow, but...
Thank you.
No, but I'm not done, my lord, in answering. I follow, the first part I follow, but you cannot ignore subsection A of point number 1, which says, very specific, my lord, the station commander must consult with the prosecutor on circumstances in which the prosecutor requires that a warning statement of a suspect obtained. Now, a warning statement, my lord, can either be obtained when a person is arrested, or a directive can come from the prosecutor to say, before we make a decision, go and obtain the warning statement. So this directive is very clear. So you cannot ignore section A, which says there must be consultation It's a different view when police are conducting their own investigation, stopping a person, giving the person his right, and then things follows. There's no time to consult with the prosecutor, so this does not apply.
Ngiyakuzwa-ke ukuthi yebo lokho okufundayo ukuthi-ke le form ithi ngaso sonke isikhathi kunenhlolo khona-ke naye-ke umsolwa kufanele-ke le form igcwaliseke, kodwa-ke awukwazi-ke ukuthi ukushaya indiva-ke lokhu okubhaliwe-ke la ukuthi u-station commander kufanele akhulumisane noma consulte kanye naye-ke umshushisi kwizimo-ke la khona-ke umshushisi afisa ukuthi-ke kube ne-warning statement ethathwa kuyena-ke umsolwa, kodwa-ke lokho-ke akufani-ke na ukuthi-ke uma amaphoyisa ezenzela olwabo uphenyo bahlangana nomuntu esitradini base beyamisa-ke lapho khona-ke akuhlangani-ke lokho noma-ke akusiyona-ke into yodwa nale ebhalwe la.
So you're basically saying, let me put it this way, what you have just said now is an exception to what the law says.
No, that's not what I'm saying, my lord. I'm saying let's look at this form because I'm directed to what this form says in terms of the instructions. The form, the first paragraph, indicates clearly that there is a communication between the prosecutor and the police. Then the prosecutor gives instruction to the police to say, go and obtain a warning statement. The prosecutor, the only way the prosecutor can get a communication of what that person has said, indeed it must be documented in terms of a warning statement. It's a different story in my situation, my lord, when I was interacting with accused number 2. There was no directive from Advocate Baloyi or any of the advocates to say go and get a warning statement. So I'm saying this does not apply in circumstances like that, my lord.
Engikushoyo ukuthi-ke lana-ke kubhaliwe-ke kuyasho ukuthi uma kuwukuthi amaphoyisa-ke akhulumisana-ke nabashushisi-ke umshushisi uthi hambani niyothola i-warning statement kuloya msolwa loyana, kodwa lana-ke kuhlukile-ke uma mina ngangikhulumisana naye-ke umsolwa ukuthi kwakungekho izwi-ke noma-ke elalibuya kuyena-ke u-advocate Baloyi ethi hambani noma hamba uyothola-ke i-warning statement kumsolwa noma-ke ku-accused number 2.
Sorry, for my understanding, not that I don't know what you're talking about. What is that document?
It's what we will term.
No. What is it? You told me about it. Has it got a heading?
Yes.
What is the heading?
Statement regarding interview with suspects. It's a warning statement, my lord. That's the term we use.
Lana-ke khulunywa ngayo-ke noma ngasi statement so kwexwayiso noma-ke phecelezi-ke i-warning statement kubhaliwe-ke ukuthi statement mayelana-ke nenhlolo khono kanye naye umsolwa.
Thank you. Now, may you please reread the second paragraph that I referred to you, that is on the following page.
The second paragraph, the one that starts by saying the form must be completed every time a suspect is questioned, irrespective of whether the suspect is in detention after an arrest or not. Where any space provided on the form is insufficient, continue on a folio and attach that folio to that page. Folios must be signed by the suspect, interpreter, deponent, and commissioner of courts.
Thank you.
Ifundeka ngale ndlela-ke ile sentence bifundiwe ngaphambili ukuthi-ke iform lena kufanele-ke igcwaliswe-ke noma-ke ibhalwe-ke ngaso sonke isikhathi umsolwa ebuzwa noma kuwukuthi-ke umsolwa lowo ugciniwe-ke esitokisini emuva kokuthi aboshiwe noma-ke uma kuwukuthi-ke isikhala-ke noma-ke ispace asanele kuyona-ke iform lena ufanele uqhubekeke kuloko kubizwa ngokuthi-ke ifolio bese iyancanyatheliswa-ke kulona leli page leli bese iyasayindwa-ke uyena umsolwa utolika kanye futhi-ke loyo oyibhalayo kanye-ke futhi naloyo ekuyena ofungisayo.
Thank you. This form must be completed every time a suspect is questioned, irrespective of whether the suspect is in detention after an arrest or not.
That is correct, my lord.
Thank you.
Yes, that's correct, my lord. But I need to explain. I need to qualify this. This portion that Advocate Minister is making me read, it's actually page number 3, starting from the beginning. The first paragraph, the written sentence or instruction states clearly that there must be a directive between the prosecutor and the police. Then what is reading, it's a further instruction that goes down. In other words, my lord, you can't read this in isolation, because I seem to be getting an impression as if this is a standalone instruction that I was made to read now. It's not. First, there is a directive coming from the NPA to the police. We are then being told what you must do. So you can't ignore the part that in my situation, there was no directive by the prosecutor to say, go and obtain a warning statement. There was no such. It was simply a police investigation. And my lord, I can also say, this happens all the time. Police officers arrive at the scene of a robbery or murder, interviews people, give chase to suspect and arrest them. There's no form that they will sit down and say, let us write now what is being said. These forms, you normally find them at the detention cells when a person is being prepared for appearances in court, or in instances when it is clear that directive will be taken and the prosecutor says, go and obtain a warning statement before we make a decision so that we can hear what the person says. It's a different situation when it came to what I did with accused number 2, my lord.
Lana ke engikufundiswayo noma lokhu ke ekuthiwa angikufundeke kuyaqhubekeka ke page 3 uma uqala ke phezulu ke la ekushoyo ke khona ke eqaleni ukuthi kufanele kube nokukhulumisana phakathi kwamaphoyisa kanye futhi ke naye umshushisi, kodwa lana ke ayisikona ke lokho okwenzeka, futhi ke into eyenzeka njalo ke ukuthi amaphoyisa afike ke kwindawo zesigameko la khona ke mhlambe kubanjwe inkunzi, kunomuntu obulewe khona ke basukele futhi ke abasolwa ke asikho noma ke awekho ke amaphepha noma ke ama documents lapho ekufanele abhalwe khona ke lokho kutholakala ke ema police station. Uma kufika la khona ke abasolwa bagcina khona ke kwakungekho okwakuya kuyena ke advocate Baloyi lana ke okwakuthi mina ke angihambi ngiyothatha I warning statement kuyena umsolwa.
So the essence of what I'm saying, my lord, we cannot read this form in isolation of the instruction that is very clear, which is the first sentence, that instruction is coming from the NPA and the interaction is to the police to go and obtain a warning statement. And that is where it says, even if it's 2, 3, 10 times, 20 times, in those instances, you must have it recorded. Whether the person is arrested or he's not arrested, as long as there's that directive, then you must complete this form. In my situation, my lord, again, without repeating myself, there was no such directive.
Lana ke aku noma ke kungenzeka lokho amahlandla awu20 amahlandla awu10 uma kuukuthi kubuya kuyena ke umshushisi kufanele lokho kwenzekeke, kodwa ke mina ke noma kolwami ke uhlangothi kwakungekho lokho noma kwangekho lapho na ke umshushisi athe hamba uyothola lokho.
Thank you, Brigadier. Do you agree that this document was designed for the police, to be used by the police, and not for the National Prosecuting Authority of South Africa?
It was designed as a guideline, my lord. There is no, I think we dealt with this part during the trial within trial. There are many warning statement forms, my lord, and not necessarily like this. Others don't even have what is contained here. It's simply a guideline. But on this specific one, my lord, I'm dealing with it as it's been put to me, because the form itself, it's not me. I'm being directed to this form to comment on what it says. And I'm saying the first sentence of these forms clearly indicates that there must be a communication between the prosecution and the police. Then the steps then must be followed as per this form. So you can't ignore the part of the prosecution and the police because the form was not designed by the police. That's what the form says. That's what I'm being directed to comment on, my lord.
Yebo ke iform lena ke aksiyona yodwa ke maningi ke futhi ke amanye ke uzohlola ke indlela ekubhalwe ngayo ke, kodwa ke awukwazi ukuthi ke uzibeke noma kuyishaya indiva ke le ndawo ebhaliwe ke ukuthi kufanele kube khona ke ukukhulumisana khona phakathi kwamaphoyisa kanye futhi nalabo abashushisayo.
Brigadier Gininda, you have just read the second paragraph, which is just an emphasis of what is supposed to be done when a police officer engages a suspect. And it says, this form must be completed every time a suspect is questioned, irrespective of whether the suspect is in detention after an arrest or not.
Yes, but my lord,
this is...
Sorry, Mr. Minister. I thought you were done. My apologies.
This is law. Unless you're creating your own little law in your own little corner there. But this is South African law, as it is contained in this form.
Yes, sir.
The state doesn't want to interfere with Advocate Mrs. Cross-examination, but the witnesses said ad nauseum that the operative part is that first sentence that says there must be a consultation between the station commissioner and the prosecutor. Whatever follows must be read subject to that operative part.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Mr. Miss.
Excuse me, my lord.
No, we can continue.
Brigadier,
Yes, my lord.
would you agree with me? Now we are going to do a standard 3 analysis. Would you agree with me that there are cases where the intervention of a prosecutor would not be necessary? For instance, in a case where, actually, let me not get there. Would you agree with me that there are cases where the intervention of a prosecutor would not be necessary and the police must just investigate that case from beginning to the end on its own and table it before a prosecutor? Such cases do exist, not so?
So,
Yes.
during the investigation process, I suppose, is that what you mean? During the
Yes.
investigation process?
Yes.
Yes. But under
Thank
the
you.
guidance of obviously the supervisor who will guide the relevant member, but the ultimate decision maker is the NPA, my lord. So that docket at one time or another will sit at the office of the NPA, and they may be of the view that, look, we are not happy with what you have. Go and do 1, 2, 3 further, which has
Thank you.
happened on this matter. We spoke about it, my lord. So the ultimate arbiter in these proceedings is actually the NPA. Whether you involve them at the beginning or you decide not to involve them, but at the end of the day, you will never get to court without sitting down with the NPA, my lord.
Uzovumelana-ke nami ukuthi-ke khona-ke izehlakalo-ke la khona-ke amaphoyisa ekudingeka nje ukuthi-ke azenzele wona-ke uphenyo engadingekile ukuthi-ke bathole izwi noma-ke umlomo obuya kwi-NPA noma-ke phecelezi-ke abashushisi. Yebo, lokho kungenzeka noma-ke kuyenzeka-ke amaphoyisa aphenye, kodwa egcineni-ke idokodo lelo lizothathwa lihambe-ke li-NPA noma kubona-ke abashushisi, ibona-ke abazothatha isinqumo, ibona abazosho ukuthi cha asenemeke ilokhu enikwenzile noma umsebenzi eniwenzile, noma ungazenzela or ningabafaki noma nibafaki, kodwa egcineni lizogcina-ke ubona.
That is what is called instructions that a prosecutor will give for further investigations, not so?
That is correct, my lord.
Ilokho-ke kuzobuya kubona-ke abasheshisi bathi-ke qhubeka-ke nophenyo, yebo kuyiqiniso.
Thank you. That will be an instance where the police have started with the investigation, they've made the arrest, they've brought the accused before court. He has already appeared at court. The prosecutor enrolls the case at court. He goes through it and realizes that we still need to get this and this and this and this and this information as part of further investigation. Do you follow?
I follow, but it's not the only instances, my lord. Even if the matter is not enrolled.
I'm talking about that instance. I'm talking about that instance, not yours. I'm talking about that instance.
Yeah,
Let's
but,
concentrate on that instance, Mr. Kininda.
okay, which instance then? Let me understand.
The
Because
one
I
that
thought
I've
the
just
question was
sketched
about
out now. The police receives a complaint. It goes out, investigates the complaint. He found that there are merits in the complaint which warrant the arrest of the perpetrator. He goes on and arrests the perpetrator. He brings him before court, and then he takes the docket to the prosecutor. The prosecutor enrolls the matter. The suspect appears at court. After appearance, the prosecutor postpones the case. After postponing the case, the prosecutor takes the docket into his office, sits down and gives the investigating officer instructions. That is the situation that I'm talking about. Let's
Yes.
concentrate on that one.
Well, yes, in that example that you're giving me, yes,
Yes.
that's how the prosecutor will give instructions.
Yes.
Uma ukhuluma noma-ke unikeza leso sibonelo ukuthi-ke iphoyisa liyaphenya, liyahamba liyobopha umsolwa-ke, liqala-ke liye enkantolo, liyahlehliswa-ke base umshushisi-ke manje uyahlala nedokodo uthi ke kulowo ophenyayo akaqhubekeke ngophenyo yebo kwenzeka ke noma lokho kuyenzeka kuleso usibonelo onginikeza sona.
Thank you. In that particular instance, don't you use this document, Exhibit XX,
No,
when you have an interview with the suspect?
my lord. So,
Yes.
and I want to move with the example that has been given.
I am asking a simple question. In that instance, don't you use a document which is called a statement regarding an interview with the suspect? This document, don't you use it?
My lord, I can hear Mr. Mnisi very loud and clear without raising his voice. It's just mind it because
I'm
I'm
not raising
answering.
my voice. This is
Well,
how I
it
speak.
sounds like that to me because I'm going to answer you.
Okay.
I was giving a broad example of how this particular example started. From the time of the arrest to the time it's taken to the prosecution, a person appears and instructions then are given by the prosecutor. I cannot now be expected to answer only one portion. I want to answer it broadly. So, because I feel now I've been confined to only focus on one thing. I was given a broader picture and I want to deal with that broader picture in terms of the answer, my lord.
Okay,
and
you
I'm
can
saying,
explain, Mr. Kenenda, can
I'm-
explain.
It's not an explanation, it's an answer, my lord. The question has
Answer
been
it.
put to me.
Yes.
Now, my lord, in that example that I was given, when the person appears, before the person appears, a warning form statement would have been completed. You cannot appear before the warning statement is taken. So that will be the first step in preparation, in processing that person to appear before court. So that warning statement, I want to deal with it because the question relates to the warning statement. The first part would have been completed. Secondly, the person then the docket gets taken now to the prosecution. This is the example that I was given. The prosecution, based on the evidence and explanation given contained on the docket, the NPA will make a decision then to enroll the matter. In that instance, my lord, if there are outstanding investigation, as Advocate Munisi is saying, then further instructions will be given to the IO to follow. I'm not sure whether the question is to say the further instruction is that further warning statement must be taken, because at that stage, a warning statement is already taken. You cannot appear before the warning statement is taken. So if the assertion is that after the person has appeared, there is further instructions to take a further warning statement, it's an unusual practice, me as a policeman, that I've heard. It's a different story when the person has not appeared. So that's how I can answer it, my lord.
Uma ngingaphendula ke lo mbuzo ukuthi ke manje ke umuntu esebingeleleke imantshi umshushisi ke manje uthi ke kulowo ophenya icala akaqhubekeke nophenyo ukuthi manje ayisagcwaliswa ke yini noma le statement lesi. I-statement lesi nanjengoba kubizwa ukuthi i-warning statement, angeke umuntu ayobingelela imantshi kanti i-warning statement ayikathathwa. Into ke leyo engajwayelekile uma kuwukuthi ke manje ushiwo kumina ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi umuntu eseyibingelele imantshi sekufanele manje uyothathwa i-warning statement, ngoba lokho kwenzeka ekuqaleni ngaphambi kokuthi umuntu ayovela enkantolo.
Thank you, Brigadier. I know you heard me well. I think it's just that this question is rattling you. You are saying, even before the person would go to greet the magistrate, a warning statement would have been taken from him, not so?
I'm saying according to the example given to me by Advocate Mnisi, in that example that he gave me, because he said I must focus on that example. That's the instruction I got from him. He said, don't go anywhere, focus on what I'm telling you. The example he gave me, my lord, the person gets arrested. After the arrest, he is then processed and taken to court, and the matter is enrolled. I'm saying in that particular example, there must be a warning statement taken before the appearance. I'm referring to the specific example that was given
Thank
to me,
you.
my lord.
Thank you.
Mina ke ngikhuluma ngesibonelo lesi esinikezwe kumina ke ukuthi ngaphambili kokuthi ke umuntu ayovela ke inkantolo noma ke ayobingelela ke imantshi, i-warning statement ithathwa ngaphambilini kokuthi kwenzeke ke lokho.
Thank you. That warning statement that must be taken before he goes and greets the magistrate. Are you not using this document?
No, my lord. As I've said, there are no prescribed forms in the warning statement. I've dealt with this, my lord. There is no one specific forms in the police that says it's a warning statement. There are different ones. The important thing for practicality, my lord, it could also be this one or a different one. The fact of the matter is that there will be a warning statement completed before a person appears, whether it's this one or a different one, but not necessarily that it will be this specific one, because it depends as to whether that station or that detective has possession of this specific one, because others, they've got a different one, my lord. The essence of it, there will be a warning statement completed prior to the appearances.
Akukho ke emaphoyiseni ke ukuthi ke kufanele kubeke iform thizeni ekuyiyona ke ebhalayo noma ke egcwaliswayo. Kungathola ukuthi esinye isiteshi asinayo lena mina ke enginayo noma leyo detective unenye ke iform, kodwa ke kusemqoka ukuthi nje kufanele ukuthi ke i-warning statement ibe khona ke ngaphambili ukuthi umuntu ke ayovela ke kuyona inkantolo. Akunamthetho othi kufanele kube iform ethize.
Thank you, Brigadier. I've just been alerted that it's time for a short adjournment. But before we adjourn, I can promise you that you are going to explore this fact further. If it will be necessary, I'm going to request that it's called in terms of Section 186 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I'm going to request this court to call for us, General Fanima Semola, to come and explain what you've just told us. Alternatively, the national spokesperson of the South African Police Services, Atenda Martin. Alternatively, any person from the legal services of the South African Police Services.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Before you call General Masemola,
I said I'm going to request the court,
tell
my
me,
lord.
in this case, was there a warning statement taken of all the accused before this court?
Yes, my lord, accused 1 up to 5.
Even accused number 2?
Even accused number 2.
Okay.
There was a warning statement taken.
Is it similar to that?
Yes, it's similar to this, my lord. It was taken at the later.
Okay, tea time. intend attending the funeral of the father of one of our colleagues, Judge Njelele. Ne? Apparently, the father passed away during the course of last week, and he's been buried tomorrow, and he stays out at Tohoyandou or beyond Tohoyandou. So persons have to drive. It's about how many hours drive there? It's about 6.
I think yes, it's
Maximum
about
6.
Yeah, I used to sit
400, 500
in that
days.
court in Tohoyandou, donkey years back, when it was still part of the TPD and the Witwatersrand local division. So I know that area. And sometimes they used to take us to Messina on circuit.
On circuit, yes.
Okay, so for that reason, then the court will adjourn at 1 p.m. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And perhaps whilst on that topic, just a reminder that Brigadier Gininda is not available tomorrow and Monday. So then resume on Tuesday next week.
Okay. On Tuesday, ne?
Yes, my lord.
Okay, fine.
Inkantolo ibika-ke udaba-ke kunodaba olukhulunyiwe ekuseni lana kunomunye-ke wabehluleli oshonelwe ubaba wakhe kunabantu-ke la emsebenzini-ke engiyomunye wabo-ke nami abazoya-ke kuloyo mngcwabo loyo. So inkantolo-ke manje uzothi makushaya u-1 bese singabuyi-ke emuva kwalokho sesobuya sihlanganeke ngolwesibili ngoba-ke ubrigadier kusasa uyabhala kanye futhi nangomsombuluko sizobuya-ke uma sesiqedile-ke ngoba sizobuya ngolwesibili kwiviki elizayo.
Okay.
As it is the court, my lord.
Yes.
Now I'm trying to decipher where I was. Thank you, my lord. Brigadier,
Yes, my
you
lord.
are saying this is not a uniform form that is used within the parameters of the South African police services. You're saying without whether some police stations are having these forms. That's what you said, not so.
I'm saying in terms of the warning statement, my
Yes.
lord, there is no prescribed form. In other words, this is not a golden rule to say this is the only warning statement that you must use. Form, yes, I'm referring to the form itself, my lord. That is why I'm saying if you peruse dockets, and prosecutors will know that you will find different warning statements other than this one. That's what I'm saying, my lord.
Okay.
Engikushoyo ukuthi-ke lena iform ephambi kwami-ke akusiyona-ke ukuthi-ke iyona nje kuphela-ke kufanele isetshenziswe. Uma ungabheka-ke amadokodo, iy'tatimende-ke ubona-ke abeshushisi uzothola ukuthi kunamaform ahlukene ekuyiwona asetshenziswayo uma-ke kuza kuloko kubizwa ngokuthi-ke ama-warning statements.
So, what you're basically saying is that there is no uniformity in the South African police services with regard to this document called Statement Regarding Interview with Suspect in terms of the nature of the form.
No, there is uniformity, my lord, insofar as the guidelines with the interview, regarding the interview, the guidelines are set. It's the same with taking a confession, it's guidelines. But when it comes to this specific form, and I'm referring to this specific form to say this is not the only ones, but insofar as the guidelines that must be followed when an interview is done, you get those guidelines. Others are not just as detailed as this one in terms of what it says. It will mostly consider the issues of the constitutional rights and then straight to the explanation as to what the deponent wants to say or responds to.
Engikushoyo ukuthi-ke uma kuza-ke ekuthini-ke yini ekufanele yenziwe kuma-interview kukhona-ke okusiholayo ukuthi kufanele kwenziweni-ke kuyona-ke iform lena. Kodwa uma ubheka-ke amaform ngokuhlukana kwawo, amanye azoba nemininingwane-ke nanjengale, amanye angabi nayo-ke imininingwane, amalungelo kuphela bese kuyiwa kuyona-ke inhlolo khona uqobo.
And maybe to assist the defense, my lord, to make it easier, when I come back next week on Tuesday, I can source those forms, bring them to court and make them available to Advocate Mnisi so that he can see that it's not me making these assertions. These are the different forms that you get in different stations. So I can embark on that exercise to assist so that we can put this matter into rest with a clear understanding.
Ngingasiza noma ngalekelela-ke futhi uma sesibuya-ke kwiviki elizayo ngolwesibili ukuthi-ke la mafomu kwatholeke ukwazi-ke ukuthi-ke abonwe-ke noma abameli bawabone-ke sokwazi ukuthi-ke lolu daba lolu-ke sizoluthatha.
I don't want that assistance, Brigadier. I am specifically referring to this form. Are you then saying that this form that is called SAPS 3M in bracket M, which is known as a statement regarding interview with the suspect, is not a uniform form that is being used by the South African police services when they have an interview with a statement? I'm not talking about guidelines, I'm talking form. This document that has been handed to court as Exhibit XX.
My Lord, I'm answering. I'm saying there are many warning. There are different various forms marked SAP 3M to be specific, but not necessarily like this one. Others are shorter. Hence, I said I can embark on exercise of bringing the SAP S3M so that the defense or the court can see them.
Engikushoyo ukuthi ke maningi ke amafomu ke abhalwe ngalendlela SAP 3M kodwa kamanye ke uzothola ukuthi ke awanamininingwane njengalena kamanye nje umfishane ingakho ngisho ke ukuthi ngingawaletha la enkantolo ukulekelela.
Thank you. Let's go back a bit to our introduction. You are saying the first time you saw accused number 2 was on the 18th when you met him at Westonary, and so?
At Carltonville, my Lord.
At Carltonville, yes.
Yes, that's what I said, my Lord.
Ngishilo ukuthi mangihlangana naye kokuqala umsolo wesibili kwakunge 18 June eCarltonville.
And where were you driving from when you met him at Carltonville?
From Gauteng, my Lord. I just don't recall when we left to check where, but it was from Gauteng, my Lord.
Ngangibuya khona ke la eGauteng noma ke khona ke eGoli kufanele ngibheke ukuthi kuphi nendawo uma ngangiya khona eCarltonville.
Then what necessitated you to drive to Carltonville to go meet accused number 2?
Well, my Lord, I didn't go with accused number 2. I found him there.
No, I'm saying, what necessitated you to drive to Carltonville to go and meet accused number 2?
All right, my apologies, I misunderstood.
Yes.
No, so it was the communication, my Lord, that I received from Sergeant Mohane, as I said earlier, that they told me they were there and following other investigation and part of, as I'm saying, my Lord, that they asked him about this matter. So I wanted to deal with it directly as I was the lead investigating officer, my Lord.
Konje uthe babuyini injongo noma inhloso yokuthi ke uye eCarltonville uyohlangana naye ke nanje bangishilo ukuthi kwakukhulumisana kwakukhona ke kanye naye ke uSergeant Mohane nokuthi ke babeyophenya ke mayelana namanye ke amacala kwase ke kuvela namakhulunywa ngalo ke leli icala ke ila engithe khona ke angiyeke nanje uma kwakuyimina ke oholithimbe liphenyayo kuleli icala.
So for them to have said to you, we're in Carltonville, we're with accused number 2, amongst others who are investigating this case, and then you there and there took a decision to say, I am joining you there at Carltonville. Or is there, okay, you can answer?
Yes. Not joining them in the investigation, my Lord. I think I've explained that there were cases that they were following unrelated to this matter. My interest insofar as going there, it was in relation to accused number 2, so that I can conduct an interview with him in relation to this matter. That was my only reason that I went there, my Lord.
Isizathu ke esabangela ukuthi ngiye lapho ngishilo lokho ngaphambilini ukuthi bona ke babeyele amanye amacala lapho ayengahlangene naleli mina ukuthi ngiye lapho kwakuthi ke ngiyokhulumisana naye umsolo wesibili mayela naleli icala.
Brigadier Kinina, why couldn't you wait? If the reason that you gave now is what prompted you to drive to Carltonville, to Carltonville. Why could you say to them, okay, no, it's fine. When you're done there, can you please bring him to my office?
No, but why, my Lord? What would be the reason of waiting? I was available and I made a decision. Well, there was nothing that was prohibiting me from going there. I was available and I felt I want to deal with it because from the time he was arrested, one will have to take note, my Lord, that I was informed that he was arrested on the 16th. It was already the 18th. I've not seen him, and I knew that he was a person of interest based on the statement that was already obtained in the docket, my Lord.
Ukuthi ke kwakufanele noma kwakungani ngingalindiki ukuthi uma niqedile lapho nimletheke office lami ngangizokwenzelani ke lokho ngoba ke sasingekho izathu nganginaso futhi isikhathi sokuthi ngiye khona lapho okunye futhi ukuthi wayeboshwe nge-16 manje ngalelo langa lelo kwakuseke ngazo i-18 zika-June 2020.
Thank you. Now, the date today, when I mean today, I mean the date on which you had an interview with accused number 2 at Carltonville, is the 18th of June 2020, not so?
Correct, my lord.
I-date-ke kwakuse-18 zika-June 2020.
And when did accused number 2 again made the confession to, is it Rapado?
Yes, he made it on the 19th of June 2020.
Uma enza-ke istatement esogonyuluka kuyena-ke uKenya Rapado umsolo wesibili kwakunge-19 zika-June 2020.
And when did he make the confession to Mrs. Cronje?
It was the 24th of June 2020.
kwakunge-24 zika-June 2020 uma esenza-ke istatement esogonyuluka phambi kwakhe-ke uCronje magistrate.
Thank you. Now, it is common cause, or it is not in dispute, let me not say it's common cause, it is not in dispute that after his arrest on the 16th of June at Pukeng, he was taken into custody, not so?
Yes, my lord, I'm aware of that.
Yebo, ngiyazi-ke ukuthi emuva kokuthi aboshwa-ke wase eyovalelwa-ke esitokisini.
So all these activities which happened subsequent to the 16th of June, up until the 24th of June 2020 when he appeared before Mrs. Cronje, the magistrate, for his confession, he had been always from custody, not so?
Yes, he was still under detention, my lord.
Yes.
Yebo kukanjalo-ke ukuthi konke lokhu okwenzeka-ke kusuka ngeyi-16 kuyofika-ke isikhathi sangeyi-24 uma eya-ke phambi koMrs. Cronje kwenza lokho-ke ngaphakathi esitokisini.
Now, when did he appear at court for the first time in this case?
So on this case, he appeared on the 27th of October 2020, my lord.
Uma ebingelela imanje ihlandla lokuqala-ke kuleli icala kwakungeyi-27 zika-October 2020.
Thank you. Now, from 22 June 2020, the date on which he appeared before the magistrate for a confession, for the alleged confession to 27 October 2020. Actually, let me put it this way. Why did he not, or why was he not made to appear at court immediately after a confession was taken from Mrs. Cronje on the 24th of June 2020?
So, okay, so yeah, I'll have to explain, my lord. So,
Yes.
firstly, the first court appearance, even though it's unrelated to this matter, took place on the 22nd.
I'm
of
sorry,
June.
I'm sorry. Prikati, let me qualify in respect of this matter.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay, now I
I'm
get
sorry.
it. All right. Now, in respect to this matter, my lord, one will remember that I've indicated that on the 23rd of June, there was an interaction where there was an attorney. Subsequent to this meeting and the discussion with the prosecution, arrangements gave rise to the confession that took place based on the discussion on the 24th. The investigation and the collaboration was not done, my lord. The fact that the confession was taken, it was not a done deal that the investigation was done. I was at that stage, my lord, as I said, the first time when I laid eyes on this confession of accused number 2, on the narrow-it's the one that I received from Colonel Rapado and subsequently the one of Mrs. Cronje, it was the first time where I had sights of accused 3, 4, and 5 in terms of the names as being alleged, where they were alleging that they were part of this. So insofar as the investigations were concerned, they were not complete. They were far from over. We didn't have the murder weapon. We didn't have all number of things and the statements that the defense is aware that we've disclosed to them. So even though there were these 2 confessions, there were collaboration that needed to be done. You can't just take them on the face value. You need to collaborate and see that what this person is saying is actually the truth or not. And that applied not only in accused number 2, it was the same exercise that I backed on when we dealt with the confession of accused 1. That is why one was able to see that when he was
So the brigadier.
So I'm just making
no. I'm asking
Okay.
about accused number 2.
yes, but my lord, I'm taking.
Let us confine ourselves to accused number 2. I'm
Yeah.
not talking accused number 1 as yet. I'll
Yeah.
come to accused number 1 if necessary. But let us confine ourselves to accused number 2.
Yes, my lord, but I hear you. I'll try
Thank
to confine
you.
myself. But what I'm saying, my lord, remember when I explained it, they say it mustn't be seen as if accused 2 got a specific treatment that was different than the others. That the picture I want to say that when we go to number 2, there is nothing different
Brigadier,
I've done
if
with
if
him.
if
Can
I
I
want
finish?
that explanation,
Mr.
if
Minister,
I want
please.
that
Mr.
explanation,
Minister.
I will ask you.
Mr. Minister, please. Let
But
them-
my lord, this witness must not.
No,
be
but don't stop
allowed to
the
do as it pleases.
don't
This
stop
court
the
is-
witness from
is
testifying.
based on rules.
No, the
This
rules
one is
are
based on rules,
the rules
man.
are as he says. It mustn't be seen that he gave special preference to accused number 2. There are 5 accused before him, so he had to make. I don't even want to give that evidence to make a decision concerning all the persons, according to him.
But
So
my
I-
lord, my question is specifically confined to accused number 2. If I want to know about accused number 1, I specifically ask him. If
But
I
all
want to
5
know
of them
about accused
appeared
number
one.
2,
All
3,
5 of
4,
them
5.
appeared one time.
But my lord,
And-
maybe the court does not understand the gist of my question. I am saying of my concern. I'm saying I'm now busy with accused number 2. Whether or not he gave a different treatment to whether he did not give that which is explaining now. For purposes of my question, it is material. I want answers in relation to accused number 2.
My lord, I'm answering. But what Advocate Mnisi needs to take note, I cannot, because then it will become unfair in terms of what I must tell this court, because it seems my answers must be confined to fit the narrative that he wants to bring forth to this court. I'm answering this question that is asking me. I'm simply indicating that it was not an isolated situation. It's what I've done with accused number 1. But insofar as the question that he asked me with accused 2, I've answered it. But I'm showing objectivity when I'm mentioning the other accused to say it was not the first time, because I'm saying this, my lord, because the impression I'm getting is as if the impression that I'm getting is being created. It's as if there was a special arrangement with accused number 2. That's all that I was getting to, my lord.
Engikuphendulayo ke uma ngiphendula lo mbuzo othi ke ukusuka ngazo i24 June 2020 ive lalanga ke kwenziwa ngalo istatement sokugunyulo kaphambi kwayo imagistrate uChronology kwayoshaya ke noma kuyofika ke nge27 kaOctober 2020 kungani ke phakathi kwaleso sikhathi ukuthi engayanga kuyobingelela imanje mayelana naleli ke icala. Usuyaphendula ukuthi kwakungeneleke umuva kokuthi kwenziwa ke lesa statement kuyena ke umagistrate uChronology kwakusekhona ke nokunye ekwakusafanele kuqinisekiswe ke kubhekwe asiwukuthi ke kwakunendlela ethize awayena kwangayo ke noma ekwakwenziwa ngayo kuyena ke umsolwa wesibili. Ngingakho ke sengisho nabanye ke abasolwa ukuthi nakubona ke kwenzeka kanjalo, hayi ukuthi ngikhuluma ngomsolwa wokuqala ngingabuzwanga kodwa ngifuna nje ukuthi ngichazeke indlela ukuthi kwenzeka kanjani ke ngoba ke kwakusafanele ukuthi nophenyo luqhubeke lungekaqedwa ngaleso sikhathi ke.
And lastly, my lord, with regard to accused number 2, to this question that Advocate Mnisi is asking, I was not investigating accused 2 in isolation of the other accused. That I think will assist, because it wasn't like I was sitting and saying now I'm focusing on accused 2 only. Collectively, as the evidence was coming your way, I was investigating all of them from 1 up to 5, especially after the confession of accused 2. So it was a collective investigation.
Futhi ke okugcina ke ukuphendula ke lo mbuzo engibuza uyena ke uAdvocate Mnisi kwakungasikona ke ukuthi ngiphenya ke umsolwa wesibili ke ngokwahlukile ke ngangibaphenya bonke ke ukusuka kokuqala kuyofika ke kowesihlanu ngesikhathi esisodwa ungasikuthi ke ngibaphenya ke ngokwahlukahlukene.
Thank you. Now you're saying on the 23rd of June 2020, accused number 2 actually you put it like this, that there was an arrangement for a confession that was that was facilitated or an arrangement for a confession that was made with an attorney that accused number 2 on the 24th should go and appear before a magistrate for a confession. Is that true or correct?
No, I think maybe there might have been a misunderstanding. I'm
Yes.
saying, my lord, on the 23rd, so I was referring to the confession of Mrs. Cronje
Yes.
to say it came as a result of the discussions
Yes.
that took place on the 23rd between accused and his attorney with the state. And then out of those discussions, it gave rise to the confession of the 25th and
Yes.
the discussions that followed. That's what I was saying.
Engikushilo ukuthi ke kwi-statement lesi esenziwa ngeyi-24 zikaJune 2020 phambi kwayo imantshi uCronier ukuthi lokho kwaqala ngeyi-23 zikaJune 2020 phakathi komsolwa ummeli wakhe kanye nombuso ukusuka lapho ke kwase kwenziwa le statement ke ngelanga elandelayo nokuqhubeka ke emuva kwalokho.
Thank you. Now, I just want to paraphrase what you've just said now so that I'm able to follow you. You are saying on the 23rd, there was a discussion between accused number 2's attorney and himself with the prosecutors for a confession that was supposed to, or about a confession that had to be taken on the 24th of June 2020, not so?
The discussions, my lord, because I don't want to say it incorrectly so that we don't find ourselves bumping it with Mr. Minister.
Yes.
The discussions was insofar, and I'm careful to go there, my lord, because I was told by the prosecution that because those discussions in terms of section of 105A were not finalized, one should not venture into that. So that's why I'm trying to put my weight as amicably and lawfully without being prejudicial to the accused, is that there were discussions that were leading to the 105. And that's how the confession of the 24th of June came into this. So it wasn't simply about the confession. There were discussions. Out of those discussions, certain things then were then put into motion by Lord.
Lokhu ke uma ngikuphendula ke ukuthi ngifuna ukuthi ngikusho kahle ke ngendlela ke ngoba ke umbuso ungibhayisile ke ukuthi ke kwakunezinkulumo ke ezazikhona ngazo i-23 June 2020 la khona ke kune statement ke noma ke lokho kubizwa ngokuthi ke i-section 105 phecelezi ke la umuntu avuma khona ke kulezo inkulumo lezo ke kwase kuholela ekuthini kube nalesi statement esithathwayo ke noma esibhalwa imantshi sange 24 zika June 2020.
Thank you. Now, on your own version, you're saying that there was an attorney involved. So I take it that was Mchiyako.
Yes.
Umjiyako ke ummeli lo engikhuluma ngayo engithi wayekhona.
Now, on the 16th, accused number 2 get arrested by Mahane and Mapena. On the 18th, as per your version, you're meeting him at Carlton, where you had that interview with him. On the 19th, he appears before Rapadi, 19 June 2020, he appears before Rapadi for an alleged confession. On the 23rd of June, there is an attorney. There is Mr. Mchiyako, and Mr. Mchiyako now appears at the scene or in the act. And there are those little arrangements that we have discussed about the possible plea bargaining arrangement and the confession. Now, would you recall that this time was at the time of COVID?
Yes, I do recall. That's correct, my lord.
Uyasho ke ukuthi ngeyi-16 zika June 2020 umsolwa uyaboshwa uyena ke umukhana kanye namabhena ngeyi-18 zika June wena uhlangana naye ke ngeyi-19 zika June 2020 uphambi koRaphathu la eyokwenza ke istatement ekhona ngeyi-23 zika June 2020 uyasho ukuthi kunomlweli umjiyako kunalamalungiselelo noma kuyakhulunywa ke lapho ngabe uyakhumbula ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi leso ke kwakungesikhathi sayo ke i-COVID? Yebo, ngiyakhumbula lokho.
Thank you, Madam. There's an indication from my colleague here, Mr. Ramusipili, that apparently accused number 1 wants to
Oh, it's fine, no problem.
talk to him. Try the number 2, not number 1.
Thank you, madam.
As it pleases the court, Madam. Thank you. Now, you were agreeing, said that this was the time when the pandemic was at its peak, not so. And at that time, visitations, police stations, hospitals and everywhere were very restricted, not so.
That is correct, my lord.
Uyavuma ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi-ke ukuthi-ke kuhanjwe-ke kuyiwe endaweni-ke noma-ke kuyovisitwa khona-ke ama-police station, imitholampilo-ke ukuthi nje kwakunemithetho-ke ukuthi-ke kuvibayo lokho, yebo kuyavuma.
Maybe before I proceed, on the 23rd of June, when there was this attorney, Mr. Mchiyako, made an arrangement with the state with regard to a possible plea bargain and a subsequent confession. Were you part of the discussions?
No, my lord.
Thank
No. So I was part in this sense that I'm the one who went to the police station after I received a call
Yes.
that there was an attorney
Yes.
who wants to consult with accused 2. And I gave that permission, my lord, regardless of the pandemic that was in place, because it's constitutional rights to say if someone wants to consult with his legal representative. I think the Constitution, as Advocate Mnise has said, is a supreme document of this country, so you need to adhere to that. So I allowed that permission. Now, after I got there and I was introduced to this advocate, and I've indicated the sequence of events, my lord, in my evidence in chief, to say as I walked in, accused 2 said, "This is my attorney," and then we interacted with Mr. Mchiyako. After I verified his status, that indeed, where I asked him to identify himself, verify that indeed he was an attorney.
But
Then the question-
Brigadier, that's the problem that I have with you. That my question was very simple. Were you part of these discussions or not? Yes or no?
But my lord, I'm putting it in
Remember,
context.
you said the other time that you wanted me to respect you, not so. And I'm trying the best that I can to respect you. But respect is a two-way traffic. If I ask you a simple thing, were you part of the discussions, yes or no? And then you start to give a sermon in circumstances where a sermon has not been requested for you.
My lord,
Then you come back and say, I don't respect you. Can you please adhere to the question, were you part of the discussions or not? No.
As a court, please, my lord. Brigadier Gininda is trying to give an explanation, a comprehensive explanation. It's not
But
just...
my lord, who said wants that explanation? Because this is a simple
Mr.
question.
Minister,
Yes or no?
Maybe I've gone too old. How can you guys speak at the same time, all of you? I
Yes.
mean, when I say it's like in a tavern, then I'm told I've never been in a tavern.
Yes.
You can, in a court of law, if your colleague is on the floor, you don't interrupt him. You can raise your hand to show that you want a follow-up, which you will make. But once he's still speaking and you also speak, yeah, unless you are in the South African Parliament.
Yes. My lord, the witnesses asked that Mr. Mchiyako made arrangements with the state on the 23rd of June for a possible plea bargain and confession, and he's asked were you part of the discussions? Now he's trying to explain, my lord, as to what the circumstances were. It's not just a simply, yes and no answer. And we submit, my lord, that this witness is entitled to expand on his answer.
Yes, Mr. Minister.
I'm shell-shocked, my lords. Really shell-shocked. Because I would expect that Mr. Kininda, with the experience that he has, is a court eagle. He has been to court on a number of occasions. He can bear testimony to that. He knows that I know that. The manner in which he's supposed to respond to questions, my lord. When I ask him, were you part of the discussions, yes or no? Answer is simple, yes, I was part of them. No, I wasn't part of them. If the answer is yes, then I would ask him to explain what transpired there, or how did you get to be part of that meeting? But what is happening here is really shocking, my lord. I really must say it is shocking. But nonetheless, you can explain, Mr. Kenny.
So, my lord, let me start on this aspect. I do appreciate when Mr. Minister said he's doing his best to respect me, because that's what I've been giving him, and I appreciate that we'll respect each other. So that, and I will ask that we maintain that standard. You'll get definitely the same treatment from me in terms of respect. Now, giving an explanation, my lord, it's not a sign of disrespect, because at nowhere do I cast aspersions to him as an advocate or his client. I'm responding and giving explanation based on how I understood the question to be putting. There are instances, my lord, which Advocate Minister has put to me, questions where I've answered yes or no. Simple, I've answered them, the record can speak for itself. But when he asks me a question which I see, if I say no, it will give a wrong impression. Even if I say yes, I need to qualify it, my lord. Because, for example, the question that is being put to me, yes, I was not part of the discussion when Advocate Mjaho was dealing now with the advocate. But there were times when I was involved, and that's the context I wanted to put to him, to say I was involved up to here. When the time came where he wanted to know who are the advocates involved, and I communicated those details to him, then there was a discussion now between him with the advocates. I was not involved, but one needs to put it into proper context, my lord. Because if I say no, and then later evidence comes up to say, but no, you were present when this part was said, it looks like I'm misleading the court. And if I say yes, as Advocate Minister is saying, then you will say, what was discussed? I do not know what he said when he spoke to the advocate. That is why I wanted to put the proper context, my lord. Nothing more. But if the question, my lord, simply requires yes or no, I will not be funny or difficult with Advocate Minister. I will answer it as such. But if I see that if I say yes or no, it may give a wrong impression if you don't put a context. I'll just plead with him to be patient with me, my lord, because I'll only give an explanation when I feel it's necessary, nothing more.
Uma ngabe ngichaza ke akusona ke noma lokho akutshengisike ukuthi ke angihloniphike kuyena ke uadvocate Mnisi, kodwa ke uma ngichaza ye usube nje ngifisa ukuthi ke ngingathumelike umlayezo ekungasiwona, ngoba ke uma sesiqhubeka ke kuzothi kodwa ke cha uthe wawungekho noma ungasiyona ke ingxenye, noma wawungekho ke lapho umji yakho wayekhona ke, ngoba ke ngangikhona ukuthi noma efuna ukwazi ukuthi obani abameli noma ke ama advocates ngamtshela ukuthi awubobani, kodwa uma esikhulumisana nabo ke ngangingekho lapho. Mina ke kwakuqinisekisa emuva nje ukuthi ngitsheliwe ukuthi kunommeli ofuna ukuthi akhulumeke naye umsolo wakhe, noma ke kwakuyileso sikhathi leso sayo ke iCovid. Kodwa ke manje ngoba ebeshilo ke advocate ukuthi ke sila noma sihola uyona ke umthetho sisekelo, ngavuma ukuthi ke ummeli lowo akakhulume naye. Yilokho ebengifisa ukuthi ngikusho noma ngikuchaze.
Thank you. Now, Brigadier, I'm not even so sure whether you'd be able to answer this question. What do you know? How did Mr. Mchiyako know about accused number 2's incarceration, for him to have gone to him on the 23rd of June 2020 to go and request to talk to him?
No, I don't know, my lord. I wouldn't know. And I didn't inquire about it, my lord.
ukuthi wazi kanjani ke uMr Mjako mayelana nokuboshwa kwakhe umsola wesibili ukuthi ayohlangana naye ke angazi ke futhi angaze ngikubuze ke lokho.
Thank you. Just a second, my lord. You have admitted that I'm sorry, madam. Before I proceed to the question, probably
Yeah, fine.
there's a bomb that is coming.
What's your time?
12.
12.
As it pleases the court, my lord.
Yeah.
I realize, my lord, that it is getting a little bit hotter in the kitchen. For me, for Mr. Ramusipili, and for Mr. Ntanzi. And we don't want to look like we're running around, my lord. But the topic is getting very interesting indeed. May I therefore request, my lord, that owing to the fact that we only left with 20 minutes to go, we then take an adjournment. There is adjournment as per the arrangement. Then we do what we need to do. We do what we
Continue
need to
until 1 o'clock, please. Okay.
Thank you, my lord.
Yeah, because there are critics here saying every time you want to cough, there is an adjournment. The adjourn, please. So let's go until 1.
So you're saying you would really know how did it happen that Mr. Mjiaku should know about accused number 2's incarceration?
No, my lord.
Uyashoka ukuthi awazi ukuthi kwenzeka kanjani ke ukuthi uMjako azi ngokuboshwa kwamsola wesibili cha.
Let's put a comma there. Let's talk about Mr. Mjiaku. Brigadier,
Yes, my lord.
look at me.
Must I look at you?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I'm here.
Mr. Mjiaku.
Yes, sir.
You know him?
No, I don't, my lord. I think in my evidence in chief during the trial within trial, that question was asked by Advocate Mshololo specifically as to whether he ever worked with him and so forth. All I could say, my lord, is that I've never worked with him. I've never came across him when he was in the police, and I did not know him up to the day when I met him. This is thing that I've read about him, because it became the public knowledge that he was once in the police working with CI. But me, myself, my lord, standing here up to today, I never worked with him. We never interacted, be it on operational matters or even a meeting. So I did not know him. That's the honest truth, my lord.
Mangikhuluma nje iqiniso-ke ngicabanga ukuthi lo mbuzo ngawubuzwa-ke ngaphambilini uyena-ke u-advocate Mshololo ngasho-ke ukuthi-ke ngezwa-ke ukuthi-ke wayeke wasebenza-ke emaphoyiseni kodwa mina-ke angikaze ngihlangane naye noma ukuthi sihlanganiswa umsebenzi-ke kuze kube yilela langa leliya engahlangana naye ngalo kodwa-ke yena nje umuntu engangingamazi.
So what you're then saying is that you met him for the first time on the 23rd of June 2020 as an attorney who came and requested to see Mr. Accused number 2.
Yes, as a person, I met him on that cycle, but even as a person, individual, as I said, my lord, we never came across each other.
Mina-ke umuntu engakaze nje ngihlangane naye-ke ngaphambilini kodwa-ke ngalela njengoba ngisho-ke ukuthi ngangihlangana naye ihlandla lokuqala.
Thank you. Now you have admitted that it is imperative. That was at the onset. I think that was my very first question when we started. That when a person gets arrested, he will have to be, actually the imperatives why he's getting searched. Number one, it was for security reasons. That actually came from me. Number two, you went on and described the processes and other two reasons beyond what I gave, which was security reason, for the reason why it should be searched. To seize the items that are in his possession, and if those items are supposed to be used as exhibits, then they get registered in SAP 13. If those items are items that needs to be retained to him after the completion for the reason or the conclusion of the reason why he was arrested, then those items are noted. I think you said SAP 22 or something like that.
Yes, prisoner's property, correct.
Yes, and then they will be taken back to him or to his relative. Now, accused number 2 gets arrested on the 16th by Sergeant Mohane and Sergeant Mabena. In terms of your explanation, they would have searched him and they would have confiscated everything that they needed to confiscate from him except for the clothes that he was wearing. Should that not have been the case?
That should be the case, my lord.
Thank you.
Uma uthuchaza-ke manje bambopha-ke ngeyi-16 zika-June 2020 uMokhane noMabena uma ngendlela ochaza ngayo-ke noma osho ngayo kufanele ukuthi bamseshile-ke base bethatha konke-ke abathola kuyena ngaphandle nje kwalokho ayegqokile yebo.
Now, on the 17th, they have an interview with him in the boardroom at Pretoria North. On the 9th, on the 18th, they are taking him to Carltonville, where you also met them. Then on the 19th of June, he appears before Mr. Rapado, and then the 23rd of June, the attorney comes and see him. Now, from the moment he's getting arrested to the day on which this attorney presents himself, Mr. Mjiyako, yes, presents himself to the police station and requests to see accused number 2. At that time, accused number 2 is totally secluded from any type of a communication with the outside world, not so?
No, it's not so, my lord. I disagree. So,
okay.
The court will remember just a day before the 23rd of June, he was in court in Phuket. So there was no seclusion. 23rd, you go back just a day before he made his first appearance in Phuket court. So there was no seclusion. I'm just referring to that, and I don't want to expand so that I say more than that. Just a day before he was in court to prove that, and he appeared before the magistrate, and he was remanded into custody on that particular matter, my lord.
Manje ke ukusuka ngesikhathi kaboshwa ngaso kumsolo wesibili ngazo i16 leziyana kuyofika ke ngazo i23 uma sekuqhamuka ke ummeli lona kusho ukuthi manje akukho okwakumhlanganisa ke nabantu noma kumhlanganisa nokungaphandle ke kwasejele noma ke khona ke estoksini akusilona iqiniso lolo ngoba ke ngaphambi nje kwazo i23 leziyana ke wayobingelela ke imantshi yase ke iqala yahlehliswa ke.
Thank you. Brigadier, when I say solution, I'm not talking in terms of a solitary confinement, you know, as it was applicable in respect of the other accused. I mean in terms of communication with the outside world. By virtue of the fact that he's getting arrested on the 16th, his his communication capabilities with the outside world get cut off because he's now in the custody of the South African Police Services. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm saying actually.
Okay, my lord.
Yes.
No. I still I did not deal with the communications
Yes.
specific with accused 2.
Yes.
But what I can say, my lord, the fact that a person is incarcerated does not mean he does not have a right to communicate. Those rights are given at the police station.
Yes.
He can ask for the phone, he can ask for visit, and are even visiting hours. Even the officers who
Yes.
do random visit will ask them if, for example, they need to engage next of kin and so forth and so forth. So it cannot be said, my lord, that the fact that you are incarcerated, then the communication to the outside world, it's cut off completely. You have those rights, my lord, and they are done at the state expense at the police station.
Thank you.
Uma kuwukuthi umuntu ke usestokisini noma ke uvalelwe ke akusho ukuthi lokho ke akanako ukuthi axhumaneke nabantu noma ke azobonwa ke akhona ke lawo malungelo khona lapho ke estation futhi lokho kwenziwa ke ngokuthi ke kube wona ke umbuso ke okhokhayo phecelezi ke estate cost akusho ukuthi ke umuntu akakwazi ukuthi angaxhumana ke nabantu uma evalelwe.
Thank you. When I say he's cut out from the outside communication, I mean he would not communicate with the outside world as and when he wished. The communication that he would have been entitled to, it was a controlled communication, not so.
Yes, it's restricted. Perhaps that's the term. It's restricted. Yes. Restricted.
Restricted.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Ukuxhumana kwakhe ke ngiyakuzwa ke uma ukuthi ke akaxhumani ke ngokwendlela ke mhlambe abe ngafisa ngayo ke.
Yeah.
Excuse me, madam.
No, when you're talking about communication, no?
Yes.
Let's say it's impossible or restricted. I'm just reminded by South Africa's history. Just for interest's sake, when Steve Biko was arrested,
Yes, madam.
he was with Peter Jones
Yes.
at the roadblock.
Yes.
You heard me.
Yes, madam.
We all knew after that. Those were involved then.
Maybe there was a snitch there.
I don't know.
There was a
Listen,
snitch from the police who said, hey.
We knew that Steve was arrested,
Yes.
and after 2 weeks he was dead.
Yes, that's the reason why I'm saying, my lord.
No,
Maybe
no,
there was a
just-
snitch amongst the members of the police, and then he could have called the. Black consciousness. Yes, maybe he found one member of the black consciousness and say, hey, one of your members there has been, but don't say it's me.
Okay.
We don't know. But that is made. Brigadier Kininda admits that once he's in the custody of the South African police, then the person's communication with the outside world gets to be restricted. So,
Correct, I agree.
thank you.
Lokho ngiyavuma ke ukuthi ke akaxhumani ke ngendlela ke abe ngafisa ke na ukuthi angaxhumana ngayo naba ngaphandle uma eboshiwe.
My lord, I'm not so certain whether the gentleman or whether the person who was complaining about us wasting court's time would still complain if we are adjourning before 8 minutes to 1. I'm not.
Yeah, he
I'm
seated
not
there.
so sure.
He seated there.
I think you will be
I'm
pushing
joking. Maybe he was watching YouTube.
I think you will be pushing it too far, my lord.
How long are you still going to be with this witness?
Very long.
Very long.
Very long.
Oh, very, very long is very long. No, push on until 1 o'clock. You say there's 8 minutes to go. Push on until 1 o'clock.
I'm requested, my lord, by Mr. Ramusipili to implore the court that there are points that we need to polish, because once we adjourn here, there is a fear that our colleagues from the correctional services are going to say, no, your time is up, it's our time now, and they are going to take him away, my lord. So then that is going to affect us in polishing the point that Mr. Ramusipili wants us to polish.
That's so.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
He's been trying.
Hello?
He's been trying all things. So
Yeah, I can see that. No, fine, let's adjourn because I'm told that there are points that which want to be polished.
Yes, please, the court. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry about that. But then it means we are not sitting tomorrow.
Yes, my lord.
On Monday also.
Yes, because I'm writing also
On
Monday.
Tuesday.
From Tuesday, I'm available until the end of term.
From Tuesday.
Until the end
you're
of term.
available.
Until the end of
So
term.
we must postpone to Tuesday.
Yes,
The
my lord.
26th, my lord.
Okay. The 26th is it?
Yes.
All right. 26th then of November. Okay, the court will adjourn then.